Technology is a tool. It's a fantastic tool. It will help you to achieve everything. But if you forget our humanity, if you forget the essence, not the appearance, if you forget the essence of who we are, what we are created for, and who we are on earth, then it is possible for us, possibly, the technology we have will help us to achieve something that is different from what is the very best. It's exciting to be in a community of people that seek to advance knowledge and wisdom. So I honor you even as I come, and I'm supposed to talk about thriving. Okay, so I titled this Striving to Thriving, and how art helps you thrive in an age of automation. We are all surrounded by incredible technology nowadays. We are surrounded by advancements that we hadn't even thought about. And the question now is, I'm an artist, how does an artist survive? Will we end up becoming extinct because AI can reproduce everything? Let me start by telling a little story about myself. I came to Nigeria as a little boy, grew up in a little village called Ifeodun, and I was very fascinated by nature. So I used to read about it, and I used to go into the bush with my friends. And I used to, study about animals and plants, and because I was surrounded by a lush forest where I lived. And in that period, I was going to make my money from my art. But somewhere along the line, what happened was, because I was studying my environment, I was studying the culture, I was studying the people, I began to attract a community of people. And then the questions became a bit more deeper than what I knew before. You can see that the artworks began to change. I had commissions of, the first one, for example, was an investment banker. He came and said I should paint something for his office that shows who he is and what he does. And I had to do something abstract, graphs and symbols and things. Later, I found myself in the Niger Delta in the middle of the crisis at a workshop. And I was imagining what it would look like to actually have the Niger Delta being built in a sustainable manner, buildings made out of natural materials, for example. So I began to do these things. This is another example of one where I decided to talk about people living with HIV/AIDS. All these were going beyond my initial passion and my initial desire for profit. And I began to see that there was a crowd of people gathering around me. And they began to grow. And they began to ask me questions. I began to find out that I was becoming a mediator. I was no more just an artisan or an artist with skills. I began to understand that I had a greater calling and a greater purpose. Next slide, please. So at that point, something began to change in my life. I began to ask myself, am I worthy of this? People put so much confidence in what I'm doing. And the first thing that happened to me was to ask myself, am I ready to change? Because before, I wasn't as selfless. I was more selfish. About myself, having what I wanted, doing what I wanted. And at that point, things began to change. And I began to ask myself, am I ready to change? To become a medium, a channel, a mediator for other people. Because now I was examining issues from the environment to living spaces, built environments, healthcare. I was now taking on issues and subjects. It wasn't just me having fun. And that is the point I had to learn to change, not just what I was used to. I had to now ask myself, am I ready to be patient with people? Am I ready to, practices I was doing before? And one by one, I had to learn to be vulnerable. I had to learn to accept uncertainty. And the crowd began to gather more and more. The crowd began to increase in number. So that, in the midst of all that, as I began to see technology coming and as I began to find technology coming in a way that I couldn't even understand, I still asked myself, why were people coming to me? Why were they looking for me? Why were they asking me to interrogate issues with them in exhibitions, in talks, in whatever it was? I began to understand that there was something that even technology couldn't solve, and that was being human. So my pitch to you today is that in the midst of the amazing technology we have, and in the midst of all the advancements, technology is a tool. It's a fantastic tool. It will help you to achieve everything. But if you forget our humanity, if you forget the essence, not the appearance, if you forget the essence of who we are, what we are created for, and who we are on earth, then it is possible for us, possibly, the technology we have will help us to achieve something that is different from what is the very best. So what I want to leave with you today is to ask you whether you are ready in a time like this, when you have immense power at your fingertips, whether you're ready to take a step back and to actually accept that you can be human. Would you do what is necessary, starting from yourself? Change what you need to change? Are you ready to be vulnerable? Are you ready to accept uncertainty? Are you ready to be sensitive to the needs of others? Are you ready to take on causes beyond your personal needs so that you can become a symbol of change to your community? Because change can only come if you are ready to do those things for others. Thank you very much.